All right. Hello and welcome to today's episode where we're going to talk about resisting uncomfortable feelings like anxiety and why that's not an effective long term strategy and what to do instead. So, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Matt Cotty and I'm a licensed clinical social worker and the creator of the AAA Response. And before we dive into the episode, a couple things. So, number one, I just wanted to let you know that my new book is officially up and available. And so we have a little link right down in the notes where you can get it. And so the book is called From Stuck to Unstuck. And really, what it is understanding kind of the why the AAA response is the solution to really breaking this wheel, and more importantly, what the AAA response is and how to start putting into practice into your life, and really understanding that the problem of OCD and anxiety is this idea that we're stuck in this loop. And so, in order to get unstuck, we have to make sure that we're eliminating all of our safety behaviors, specifically the mental ones. Hence, why the AAA response is so important. So, all you need to do to get access to it is just click the little link. You'll be taken to a page. You can get all the details. We're actually including the audiobook right now as a free bonus, when you get your copy. So you'll be able to get that as well if you prefer audio. And so I just wanted to make that, special announcement today because really excited about it. And I know it's going to be helpful for a lot of people. So with all that said, let's go ahead and dive into today's episode. Also, if you could like and subscribe as well as leave a review on iTunes, it would really just help the show as well. So let's talk about resisting uncomfortable feelings. When it comes to OCD and anxiety, there's the two main aspects that really get people stuck. And so some people get stuck primarily in thought with the intrusive thoughts or the what if thoughts, and they get kind of stuck in their mind. Another way people get stuck is in their bodies, right? And essentially this just heavy resistance to feelings in the body, right? So in these feelings manifest in various different ways, right? But really, when we're talking about a lot of the stress energy or the fight or flight response, and that you know that sympathetic nervous system activating, it could be feelings of tightness in the chest, it could be feelings of a racing hearts, heat, sweatiness, I mean, like the list goes on and on and on and on of the way that these feelings can manifest. Also, it could just feel like this just kind of knot in your stomach, knot in your throat. Just this kind of like just racing energy in the body. So all of that stuff is, we'd kind of categorize in the feeling section, right? Because essentially it's happening in your body, not your mind. And what a lot of people do is they resist these feelings, right? There might be tingling sensations in the legs. It might be, I mean, it can be so many different things. That's why I don't want to try to attempt to list everything, but really, where it is, right? And if it's in your body, then that's what the feeling is. And the thing is, feelings are meant to be felt, right? But what we do is we try to say, well, I don't like this feeling, and I like feeling more balanced. I like feeling happy. I like feeling joy. Maybe these higher like feeling states, if you will, like when it comes to like an energetic level. And if you're interested in learning about that, Dr. Hawkins in his book, Letting Go, he really just breaks down like the energy levels. It's fascinating stuff in chapter 3. And when you start to want to get to a different feeling state, and you desire to be in a different feeling state than you are, what that generally leads to is this resistance and this kind of avoidance and even suppression of whatever feelings actually happening. And so if our goal is to change our feeling state, that usually is like, a resistance to the feeling, right? And what we should be doing instead is this idea of learning to drop the resistance to the feeling and actually feel through it until it surfaces and passes. And so a good metaphor for this is always like the beach ball in the pool, right? So like the beach ball comes to the surface, and if you push it underwater, right, like it will go underwater with your force, but its natural way is to always come up to the surface. Right. And so when you let go, it just comes up. And this is what a lot of people do with uncomfortable feelings like anxiety or, guilt, shame, anger, right. Fear, right. Kind of like the four dark horsemen, if you will, um, is we don't like the feeling. And so we kind of push it down. And the thing is the feeling naturally wants to come up to the surface and release. And when you really just understand that from an energetic level and you really understand feelings as energy, it it makes it easier to navigate because you understand that like you aren't your feelings and that they actually like it's not your job to try to control the feelings. The feelings, essentially they very naturally release when they're felt. And when we can actually feel the feelings and feel the energy behind the feelings and just that and really just feel them, you know, that is a much healthier approach to navigating uncomfortable feelings in the body. And unfortunately, it's the last thing that most people want to do, right? And I say unfortunately, I shouldn't even say unfortunately, it's what most of us have been programmed to do. Because every other commercial, right, it might seem that you see online is like, well, if you feel uncomfortable in any way, we need to change that. And there's always some kind of solution to insert and change that. And a lot of people medicate. All right, so let's talk about some of the things that we do to resist uncomfortable feelings. We medicate, right? This could be weed, alcohol, right? Sugar, right? Just compulsive eating, right? Like we are purposely in putting something in our system because it makes us feel better, right? And and generally it's not in our long-term best interest. And then there's also like distraction, right? So being on our phones, um you know could be anything, just staying busy, right? A lot of people with anxiety, what I found, or a lot of people who wrestle with anxiety really try to overpack their schedules, because what happens is when they finally like are still and with themselves, that's when the anxiety starts to usually come to the surface. And so they distract themselves with busyness. Could also just be, again, binge watching shows, listening to like consuming stuff all the time. So like just always listening to music, podcasts, and you can always justify it. You're like, well, I'm learning something. I'm listening to an audiobook, or all these other ways, right? And but at the like again, this is why honesty is so important, right? Is like you have to get honest about what you're doing. It's like, yes, listening to audiobook is great, right? Listening to podcasts is great. Um, but then you start to look at like, well, why are you doing it, and why are you doing it at the level you're doing it? And if the answer is because I just don't like what I feel when I'm not doing it, that's a really good indication to say, hey, let me bring some awareness to what's going on in my body and give it the awareness and attention that it needs, and let me feel what's going on. Because the reality is once we actually feel our feelings, our body has this natural way of reaching homeostasis, and that comes through feeling feelings, though, not not doing things to make the feelings go away. And and if you do this, he said like resisting feelings is at the root of 99% of the problems that people experience. Because what we do is, opposed to feeling the feelings, we didn't do things to try to neutralize or get rid of the feelings. And then what happens is our life then becomes about making sure these feelings don't surface up, or if they do, that we make them go away. And that ends up leading to all these safety behaviors, right? It might be, and again, it can be all sorts of things. It could be gambling, it could be um, you know, compulsive sex, porn. It could be, shopping. It could be just busyness, excessively drink, even excessively, again, like drinking, smoking, right? I mean, like the list goes on, or just being lost in TV shows, all of that stuff. Like again, none of the things in and of itself, right? Like I'm not saying like sex is bad or gambling's bad or any of that stuff. It's not a judgment thing. What it is are you using that to navigate uncomfortable experiences going on in your body? If so, what's going to happen is those experiences like the beach ball are going to keep coming up until you actually feel them, right? Like the only way through and out of anxiety is through it. That's the only healthy way, I should say. And so if we're trying to medicate it, suppress it, distract from it, remove it, all that stuff is like we're actually not allowing the feeling to just run its natural course. And I know the argument initially is, well, I don't like the feeling. Yeah, me neither. I'll be very transparent. Me neither. I haven't yet to meet someone who does. But that doesn't mean that it shouldn't be felt, right? It's like that feeling's there. The fear is there in the body, and it needs to be released so you don't carry it around. And then ultimately make your life about not experiencing that feeling. That's actually like what essentially all an anxiety disorder is. An anxiety disorder is not the presence of anxiety. Anxiety disorders are really, I resist the presence of anxiety so much that I ultimately do all these things to control my life so that doesn't happen. Or if it does, I limit my life. That's all it is, right? Even when you actually take the measurement tools, right? Like the Y box, or some of the tools that you use to actually like give an official quote unquote diagnosis. Most of what they're measuring is, hey, how much time do you spend attempting to control and get rid of the things that you're experiencing, right? How much time are you engaging in safety behaviors? That's why it's that's why the whole purpose of the book From Stuck to Unstuck, the TBC program, our 12-week program, the group coaching, all of the stuff is we always are targeting the safety behaviors. That's the only thing that we have control of. And when we remove the safety behaviors, then we actually allow these very natural experiences, right, of thoughts and feelings to surface up, and we respond to them correctly. And by doing so, there's an energetic release of some, and again, I don't pretend to understand exactly how that works, but I know that happens. And then from there, the body balances. And that's the idea of when we are resisting uncomfortable feelings, it is going to lead to safety behaviors. And the problem is that over time, what's going to happen is, again, we're going to suppress and we're going to start engaging in more safety behaviors because the feelings are going to keep coming up and keep getting a little bit heavier. So then we have to do more and more and more. This is why what starts as, again, washing your hands once turns into washing it for 3 hours, under hot water, to having a drink after work turns into, hey, I had a couple of glasses of wine, to I have a bottle, to, and it just starts building, because we build tolerance to the safety behavior and the feeling keeps coming up. So we have to engage in more and more safety behaviors. You have to engage in riskier, more adrenaline, like seeking things. I mean, it's all pretty obvious once you just step back and look at it. Now, I know there's other factors here when it comes to addiction and stuff that we're not going to get into, but at the root of it all, like when you're doing any kind of destructive behavior, the general reason, in my experience, not only personally, but which is everyone I've worked with, is because there's like, a feeling that's uncomfortable, whether it's sadness or anxiety or fear or anger or whatever. And so we're engaging in that, whether it's playing video games or whatever, to shift our inner state. And that resistance to the feeling is the problem. Like right there, that's the pinnacle of the problem. That's where everything shifts. And when we're able to start dropping our resistance, which is actually the first thing that we need to do with feelings, right, is we drop our resistance to them. We say, hey, it's like, I need to let go of trying to control this. Then we're actually able to feel them and they pass. And that's what we're ultimately looking for, is a healthy way to start going and navigating our feelings. So I hope this was helpful. And with that, all that said, again, please, if you're interested in learning more about the book, all you need to do is click the little link, or you can go to restoredminds.com/book. And so I know, very complex domain name. And you can learn more. Again, we're giving the audiobook right now away as a free gift when you get your copy of the book. And so again, it's a digital version too, so you can literally start it right away. And that was why we went that way, is because we want to be able to get it in your hands, and so you can start putting the material into practice into your life. So thank you so much for hanging out today. Really hope this has been helpful. And with that said, I wish you guys a great week, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Take care.